so hopefully he'll see it. Hey. It's been a crazy week. I've been hearing so many different conversations about the Asian hate crimes, and everybody has something different to say. I don't know how to, I don't know, you guys. Hey, you, okay, so how do I join? How do I grab you in here? How do I invite you, Lewis? How do I invite you? Okay, perfect. I see it. So then, perfect. Thank you. Hi. All right, so you should be coming up, right?
What's up, sis? Finally.
I am so bad with technology. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. We're here now.
Yes, we are here now. You're such a big picture thinker already. You're like, and next. Yeah. So there's been so much that's happened in the last few days that I wanted to just kind of talk to you about the prison world, and share a little bit about the Black Wealth series. But then we have so many of the, so much Asian hate crime that's happening, and honestly, I'm hearing a lot of different conversations from the Black community in regards to it as well. So you want to just talk about that for a little bit?
Look, you got the conversation, and I'll value wherever I see fit. And if it's something that's outside of my purview, I'll just say, look, I'll cuss. There are a few cuss words that you say either in media or on television, and that cuss word means I don't know. So if you ask me a question and I don't have the answer, I'm gonna just simply say I don't know.
Yeah. But you know what? Before we talk, because the reality is I don't do a lot of lives, obviously, that's why I couldn't get on, and you do a lot of everything. So for those of you guys who are just joining in, thank you for joining. My name is Serria. I'm one of the founders of the Black Wealth Matters educational series, which is a series about how systemic racism affects so many different areas, which in turn affects our wealth. And Lewis is just a dynamic person. So tell them, can you share a little bit about who you are? And then I want to hear all the tea from the CPAC.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah. So look, thanks for everyone for tuning in. My name is Louis L. Reed. I am the director of national organizing and partnerships for an organization called Dream Court Justice. We used to be called Cut 50. And we are the winningest criminal justice reform organization in recent history, having passed more than 30 bills over the last 3 years, including the Federal First Step Act, which has to date released more than 16,000 people from federal prison. We are the only organization that has been successful in moving the Trump administration to take action on criminal justice reform. So we hang our hat on that a whole lot. The reason why I'm connected to the issue of social and criminal justice reform, not just because I'm a Black man in America, but because I also served nearly 14 years in federal prison. And while I was incarcerated, I saw how systemic not just racism was, but I saw how systemic the prison industrial complex was. And I wanted to fight the power. I wanted to change that. Hence the reason why I'm on this live today talking to you just a little bit about, some of the stuff that I've done.
Yeah, thank you. And you were in the prison system for 14 years. You're so young. Did you start in as a kid and then just transfer to adult?
Yeah, so no, I actually just look young. Black don't crack, and we got great genes in my family. Okay. So I actually went in. I went in when I I think I was a month from my 23rd birthday.
Wow.
I went in a month from my 23rd birthday, and it was a riveting experience for me. I think that up until that point, I had lived my life in advance. And what I mean by that, I was involved in some things. I had been exposed to some things. I had traveled to some places. I had been able to connect with some people. And but it was a riveting experience nonetheless. When you are sentenced to nearly 16 years in federal prison. When you walk into a courtroom, and no matter how many resources you have, no matter what type of attorney you think is going to eat the case, you end up regurgitating a federal sentence, and you hear something that says the United States of America versus you. And the gravity of that, like, that hits you, right? Like that's what it reads on your indictment. The United States of America versus John Doe. First, and it's like, wow, everybody in the entire country versus little old me. I don't have a winning chance. And so, so that's kind of like, I literally think that's where my mind began to be transformed as to how big this issue was.
That's awesome. Yeah. One of the benefits of our Black Wealth Matters series is that we get experts, and you're going to be one of the speakers for the next series. And thank you so much. You've been so welcoming, and you guys, I'm just a person out in LA, and I will slide into somebody's DMs, and not in a friendly way, and also business. and it's so awesome how many people that have welcomed me with that conversation, and you're one of the biggest ones. And not only were you welcoming me, but you also introduced me to one of my other speakers who is going to help us with the topic on policing too. And then I started, you're obviously an activist for real. I say I've been weaponized from the George Floyd. I said that's when I was weaponized. And before that, I was just going on my life, having a good time out here in LA, and just being very singular. Everything was about me and my life and my money and my husband and my house and my mama and and not that small, but kinda. And when I saw that George Floyd was killed over $20, being a finance professional, $20 is $20, right? It's currency, it's wealth. Money can trade hands. It's money, and my whole business is money. So it just made me realize my special weapon is going to be how to start translating these conversations into money, because systemic racism functions best through poverty.
Yeah. So, I also want to touch on something. You are not just anything, right? You are probably one of the, most passionate, persistent people that I know. And I think that oftentimes when we say, well, I'm just this, I'm just that, we have a tendency to minimize our impact. And I think that the value that you add as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mother, as a I was going to say husband, you be as a wife, and as just as a human being, I think that it's incalculable. I also want to just talk about this notion of weaponizing, right? It's interesting to hear someone who is of color say that they had to be activated, they had to be weaponized because they were in their silo. My world, my issue, my family, my this, my that. And how George Floyd caused us to level up, in a sense, right? Come up.
Yep.
But I think that this is a larger conversation about how we need to be weaponized in our thinking, how we need to be revolutionized in our love, how we need to be weaponized in empathy, how we, right, need to be concerned more about the we than about the me.
Yes.
And the notion of the Good Samaritan, in principle, was, in essence, it wasn't about the me, it was about the we. It was an injured person on the side of the road. The Good Samaritan, sees that person. He didn't say, why did the priest walk over you? Because you probably didn't pay your tithes last Sunday. He didn't ask whether or not, the reason the Levite stepped over this person was because this person was probably unscrupulous himself. He just simply responded to the call. Mm-hmm. He got off of his high horse. He got off of his place of privilege. Mm-hmm. He got off of his place of status, and he was touched by the feelings of the infirmity of that man that was on the side of the road. And so if we are going to be weaponized even the more, we have to not be jarred by something as graphic that happened on that May afternoon in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We need to be jarred that your second cousin, Malik, that you invite to the family reunion once every 5 years and you got to lock stuff away, right? We need to be jarred that he got arrested for the 15th time and not write him off and be saying to ourselves, why is it that he got arrested for the 15th time in the same community without having access to resources, without having access to appropriate employment, without having access to power? Why is it that he is disenfranchised? Why is it that my daughter, who is on her third child by the time she's 22 years old, and she's going through all of this baby daddy dilemma in child support, that the system is creating a space for us to perpetuate dysfunction?
Somebody keeps trying to FaceTime me and trying to understand why that's happening. Do you?
Yeah, okay. I'm still here.
So I'm hopefully they'll stop. And you know what? But honestly, that would be my mama, because my mama knows so little about technology. She's grabbing everything, trying to figure it out. But I like what you're saying in terms of people being so comfortable and being in their bubble, and instead of looking at or in addition to, I don't know how to do that, Jennifer. Instead of looking at the out there, look at the inside, look at your family. And, you know, it's so, I think Jennifer, who's actually in the audience, I said this at an event that I was on Clubhouse, and a young guy asked me to be a speaker on the stage. And he was asking me, like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? And all that good stuff. And I told him very simply, there's two types of people in the Black community. There's two types. There's the umbrella holders, and they're the people under the umbrella. You're one or the other, right? Mm-hmm. And my goal as a financial professional is to strengthen that umbrella, make it as big as you can make it, and then at a certain point, all of us can link our umbrellas up and create a dome.
That's right. That's right.
Because right now we have some people who haven't been weaponized. They haven't woke up, and their umbrella is like that little pack from the Six Flags. It's the umbrella. And it's barely covering them, right? That's all they got. They got them. And that's not enough, because if we can do good, we can do great. It's just different intentions, you know? So I saw somebody else saying, what's the goal, or what do we need to do to come together? And what I'm thinking, and you can tell me what you think too, I think that we're all different, and we all have to kind of follow the road that falls in our heart, right? And that's why I do the Black Wealth series, because I have a part of it that appeals to environmentalists. I have a part of it that appeals to political activists. I have a part of it that appeals to police reformers. And then later on, we're going to do entertainers and all of that good stuff. And we it doesn't all have to look the same way, but we all need to pick a lane, as many lanes as we want, and we need to keep going and go and put one foot in front of the other and follow the leaders, people like yourself, who are investing time in and day out, and know what we don't know, because we don't have that luxury of being in there, right?
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about the family, because I came up with that realization too. I'm like, I don't need to give to not one more charity. I got 5 younger brothers.
Yep.
And at any given point, any of them can be in jail. I don't need to give to nobody.
Yeah, I mean, look, right? You know, one of the greatest investment that somebody made in me while I was incarcerated was investing in my education. Informal, right? All of us know it's impossible for you to be Black, brown, or poor white in this country and you not know somebody who's impacted by the criminal legal system, whether incarcerated or formerly incarcerated, and or if somebody has a felony conviction. It's just statistically impossible. So with that having been said, you can invest in them. You can invest in their development. You can invest in the next iteration of their life. Absolutely. Right? What can I do in order to help you get that professional certificate that you're looking for? Absolutely. What can I do what can I do in order to help you? I may not necessarily have a, $200,000 to bankroll your business, but I do know that you probably need a computer in order to draft the business concept on. I got something. Let me blow the dust off this thing, right? It's not the current model of it, but it's 2 years. It's the edition from 2 years ago. Let me give you that.
I love that.
Right?
Absolutely.
There are little things that we can do in order to make an investment in somebody's leadership. Look, I remember I still have a book that somebody gave me back in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a book by T.D. Jakes, and it was called He Motions, and I still treasure that. I still hold on to that because that was one of those reads that really transformed my mind, and it recalibrated me. And so when we're talking about making an investment, and when we're talking about giving, we can give of our love, we can give of our thought leadership, we can give of our resources in a way that can impact our family at large, right, writ large, but also but also in a way that we can see an immediate return on our investment.
Yeah, I like that. And Mike is saying, hold each other accountable through compassion and not judgment. Absolutely. Nobody's here for nobody's judgment. Nobody's perfect. And that's another thing. I was one of the realizations that I came to after just analyzing George Floyd's situation was that especially out here in LA, we have so many homeless people in LA. And we have a lot of working poor, right? And, so often we would give money. We would give sandwiches and water and like snacks, right? Versus money. And it's not that people don't have it. It's just in our mind, we're judging what they're going to do with our money. We're like, I'm not going to give you this $5. You're going to overdose off of this $5 bill. I'm not going to give you this. You're going to take this and you're going to do something out of integrity. And I realized, who the hell are we? Why are we judging what they're going to do with this money? This woman can need some feminine products. Somebody can need an aspirin. Somebody can need Band-Aids or hydrogen peroxide. They don't need your half-eaten sandwich. Keep it. Give them some money. So it all matters right now. I think it all matters. I think everyone has to really look at what we can do and do it together. We all have an impact. And that's also, I want to hear about you at the CPAC. I want to hear what your message was. And then I also want to, I do want to talk about the Asian hate and Black folks and then in regards to this Asian hate. So let's share.
CPAC is the Republican, the gathering of Republicans. It's where most if not all of the darlings of the Republican Party take center stage, and they either communicate and or reinforce their message. And so I was invited there by my friends at the ACU. I'm of the notion where unlikely common pain leads a common purpose. And I always believe in unlikely allies to produce an unlikely result. And so we work across the aisle. We work with our friends on the Republican side, most of whom I know really align with my Christian values. Right now, we differ as it relates to political ideology, but as it relates to Christian values, we align, and we have very spirited conversations about that. And I also try to get them to have some congruency with the values that they espouse versus the behaviors that is demonstrated, right? Like those are two things. So when we're talking about values and we're talking about the behaviors that people demonstrate, those are two different conversations. But in any event, I was invited there to talk about Breonna Taylor and the need for no-knock warrants nationwide. Republicans at their best, they believe in liberty. And so that was one of those issues where we found alignment on. A Black woman at her home, her boo had a registered firearm, hears a large disturbance in the middle of the night, grabs his gun, walks to the door, tells his woman to stand back, yells, sees a flash, shoots. And next thing we know, his woman is unresponsive, shot multiple times. And then they don't even treat her like the victim afterwards. They give her no immediate medical care. This is someone who took care of other people as an emergency room technician. Give her no immediate medical care. Treat him like a criminal because they messed up. And so we talked about that. And it was very resonant. It was very resonant in the room because, again, you know, that a man's home is his castle doctrine. They believe in that. They believe in the right to bear arms. And so, you know, it's surprising what you can find commonalities with when you have a conversation with people. You know, I just tweeted earlier today, you can't get clarification without a conversation. You're never going to get clarification without a conversation. And so for me, conversations are passports into each other's lives. And that's what happened. I got deeper access into their lives. They got deeper access into my life. And hopefully we are going to create some systemic change as a result of this systemic issue that we see in Kentucky.
Oh, no, not hopefully. It's going to happen with or without the event. And what I love about what you're saying too is that I know it comes from maturity because and I would love to hear how you developed it, because when you know the poo-poo hit the fan, I was so angry. I must have got booted off of Facebook about 4 times. I mean, I woke up swinging on people like, where are you? Do you want to meet? Like, I was so angry. And it's only now I started. I have a book club. We read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie. I read that book twice a year. I've been reading that book twice a year ever since 2005.
Yeah, so we're rereading that, and it makes you, it gets you in tune with people's humanity and their love and how activists are lovers, right? We're lovers. Activists aren't activists because they don't love people. Singular people are singular because they're not checking for nobody else, right? Activists, there's a foundation that's really given in love. And when we are not able to express that, it almost like it cripples up, because that's really our biggest tool. And now I can communicate and understand that I can listen, I can talk, I can communicate. And it doesn't change not one iota of what I intended to do in this lifetime. You know what I mean? So I think that your communication, like what you're doing, is absolutely important. It's absolutely important. We need people everywhere.
Yeah. Look, I think that we need good people everywhere. We need empathic people everywhere. I think that we need people of goodwill everywhere. That's what we need. We just don't need people, because you know when you don't qualify the type of people that we need, you know, you'll get some bad folks.
That sounds right. You're right.
Yeah.
You've seen it more than me, so I'm like, I feel like that's 100%. I take it. Now, what are you thinking about the Asian hate? I've been hearing a lot of, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of hurt feelings from Black folks in regards to this, and it's
and so look, right, like for some folks this is a hashtag. This is an opportunity for people to just jump in and, you know, stop Asian hate, stop queer hate, stop Black hate, stop light-skinned folks with green eyes and sandy blonde hair hate. stop hating on the Albie Shores of the world. Right? Like, so for some folks, this is an opportunity for them to bandwagon. But for a good majority of folks, this is something that they deal with day in and night out. And I'm of the notion that no matter what your ethnic origin is, what your racial makeup is, what your gender is, what your sexual orientation or preference is, human beings are human beings. Yes, there is this conflicted relationship that we have with the Asian community, that's, I mean, like, I can walk you backwards, right? I'm young enough to remember, you know, some things that has happened in New York and LA. You know, so yeah, LA especially, right? I'm young enough to remember that. However, we have to get to this point where it's not an us versus them. The soul of who we are as Black folks, it's just in our nature to respond, right? Like we took care of the white man's children. You know, after you know, he just finished raping our you know, grandparents and our ancestors, right? Like it's just in who we are to be nothing less than who we are. And who we are people of love. Who we are people of rich texture. Of who we are people of just vast capacity to love and to give. That's just who we are.
It is.
And you're never going to take, you know, you may not support us. You may not support us to the same degree that we support you. Right? You may not value us to the same degree that we value you. You may not shop with us to the same degree that we shop with you. You may not do any of those things, but that's not going to change who we are as people. You're never going to change who we are as people. We're too rich, we're too talented, we're too thoughtful, we're too giving, we're too empathic, we're too loving, we're too caring.
Yeah.
We embody life, we embody soul. When you think about soul, I ain't talking about music. You think about soul, you're talking about capacity to care and capacity to love. That's who we are.
Absolutely.
And so while I'm not one to say that we should not be supporting our Asian community, our Asian brothers and sisters. I was incarcerated and I worshiped besides brothers who were in the Asian community, right? And it was a culture shock to me because I come from the, you know, Pentecostal, you know, hand clapping, foot stomping church, right? And their culture is different, but we worship the same God.
Got it.
When I look at them, their eyes may, you know, be slanted, and they may be lighter on the complexion equation. But the fact of the matter is that they're still human. They're still human. And as Americans, I think that we have a duty to respond to each other. We don't have the luxury of picking and choosing who we're going to respond to. We don't have the luxury of saying, well, you know, that was the Islamic community and we don't really mess with them like that because they don't really mess with us like that. We don't have that. We don't have that luxury to get into that tribalism.
We don't.
You know, I was just going to say that we need to be standing shoulder to shoulder with each other.
You know what? I agree. And I think there's hurt from the history. But I also think that the Asian community has woken up. You know, I think they got kicked out of bed, you know, like we've been kicked out of the bed, and they're seeing it and they're weaponized. And because they're weaponized, we need to get in there with them, and we need to create a bigger voice, because it's not about stopping Asian hate. It's about really getting rid of this white supremacy.
And that's exactly the point that I was going to lean into. So for me, right, it's not about like don't stop Asian hate. Right? Yes, we need to stop it, but we also need to kill white supremacy. Absolutely. That's what we need to do. We need to kill white supremacy. We need to increase love. We need to stop Asian hate. We need to increase love, and we need to kill white supremacy.
Period.
You know, simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And also while we at it, let's not even sprinkle, right? But let's bake into the heart of the cake. We also need to be walking in Black pride. Yeah, right. You know, and so it wasn't until George Floyd. We have to consider that George Floyd is the primer for everything that we're hearing now. Yeah, right. Absolutely. And so at the unfortunate expense of that brother's life, it has been historical, kept true to form. We have always been the bridge that people have walked over in order to get rights for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, when you think about Reconstruction, when you think about the Civil Rights era, you know, when you think about the things that was birthed out of those movements, the women's suffrage movement, the LGBTQ movement, so on and so forth, that came across the bridge of backs of black folks.
Period.
We laid that groundwork first, right? And so it wasn't until George Floyd that we were able to say with confidence, right? Like I'm black and I'm proud, and we were able to say it in the workplace without saying I'm black and I'm proud.
Right.
Right. Now we can post that stuff on our social media.
Yeah.
Knowing that some of our work, our co-workers might be on there and not label us some type of freaking Farrakhan lover or something to that degree. Right. Now we can walk into work with our red, black, and green earrings on, our I am black, right? Our African American, there we go, our braids, our big hair, our African American Alliance College shirts. We can talk about support of HBCU, so on and so forth. And that came, unfortunately, at the expense of George Floyd. Yeah. And so what we're seeing with the Stop Asian Hate, right? That was just the George Floyd provided that bridge for people to walk over to get to this point where now the world is going to be supportive of anything that is anti-love, of anything that is anti-empathy, of anything that is anti-humanity, right? Yeah. And that came, I can't emphasize that enough, that came at the unfortunate expense of that brother.
It really did, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think I keep seeing like, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I'll give you my solution. My solution is that we need to penetrate all the areas that make the decisions. Right now, it's politics, it's finance, it's technology. And we don't have enough of us in any of those areas. There are so many organizations now that support people running, but people don't want to run. We need more people running. And I always get asked, Serria, why don't you run? And my goal is a little bigger and more money motivated. I want to create the funds that support the politicians, but I also want to create safe gated communities for Black folks. Right? Yeah.
So look, I think that for us, right, like financial power is going to be the linchpin that keeps us perpetuating not just financial wealth, but that wealth of love. Because if we don't have Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like we don't have our basic needs met, then everything else is just going to be immaterial. And I personally think, one of the things in securing, we can have a conversation about this at another time because I know we're running low on time. But over the summer, I applied for additional life insurance, and I remember it asked me a series of questions online. Do you drink? No, never have. Do you use drugs? No, never have. Do you participate in any extracurricular activities such as skydiving, bull running, and all this other stuff? No. So I want to. And then it asked me a question.
Don't tell them that.
Then it asked me a question. It says, have you ever been convicted of a felony? And it didn't say 1 year, didn't say 3 years, didn't say 5 years, didn't say 10 years, didn't say 7 years. It said indefinitely. Ever. In the moment that I pressed yes, it said, unfortunately, we are unable to process your application. Now for where I come from, the only way that you, as a black people, as black folks, the only way that you are in the majority to be able to transfer wealth, you make change and transfer wealth is through life insurance.
It is.
Right? And so for us to be able to be denied life insurance when statistically, right, you have more black and brown folks who have felony convictions than our white counterparts, that's tragic. That's tragic.
And it just Louis, it's by design. Yes. Finance is my area. It's by design. And I'll be honest with you, finance is one of the least manipulable industries out there. And let me tell you why. Once you get in, you're in. right? Once you get into the financial sector, meaning once you can buy the shares of Apple, can buy the shares of whatever they invest, you got it. Unlike real estate, where real estate can be manipulated through the mortgage, it can be manipulated through the market price, it can be manipulated through the appraisal. And if they didn't quite get you there, they can rezone it, right? So there's so many areas where real estate can be manipulated, and that's why we're not quite creating the wealth that we need to create through real estate. But finance, once you're in, you're in. And that's why it's so important that we start thinking about it differently. Like I'm in a sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho, and a lot of Black sorority women, a lot of college educated women right now don't have husbands and don't have kids. It just is what it is. We don't have babies. We're not reproducing. I'm married. I have no babies. And so, but what happens is they're like, well, I don't need insurance. What do I need insurance for? I don't have any, there's no legacy. And I'm like, no, the Black community is your legacy. Donate that insurance to your sorority, donate it to your school, donate it to your family. Let's see what it looks like when your family has so much money that they have no choice but to give it away. Only then are we going to be able to make an impact through this money conversation. But it won't be a loud conversation. It'll be a quiet, underground, railroad type conversation. Because unfortunately, through systemic racism, there's still an acceptable culture of hate on Black people. Just hate. Just you ain't gonna do well, like that. And we gotta be present to that. And we gotta know that the road is still A to B. It's just not a straight line for us.
Yeah, without question. So look, I want to tell you one or two things before I let you go. Number one, I know you got a whole bunch of money, so if you need to top me, mommy, here I am. and the second thing is, right, is that, you know, we need to be opening these doors. You know, we need to be really opening windows of opportunity for each other, right? Like more now than ever.
I do.
Anybody
more on here, if you're curious about the financial sector, DM me. I would love to give you more information, train you, develop you. We need more hands on deck for the Black Wealth series, all of that. Look at it in our bio. And then also, before you finish talking, Lewis's nonprofit, please, if you have some extra coins outside of supporting your family, donate it to him. If you know anybody looking to donate anywhere, he has a nonprofit where they're helping with prison reform. And, you know, that's just a bunch of our people that need that help. And what's your second thing?
Oh no, just unlocking that access. All right, like, you know, I think that you are one of those people that you don't hold the key, but you tell people how to create a key for themselves. Just like how, you know, if the key is not working in our front door, or, you know, we need a new key cut, people can go down to Home Depot. This woman is the woman that is going to tell you how to get a new key cut to, you know, unlock financial wealth and financial success for yourself. So I appreciate you. I know I talked your ears off a whole bunch. I gotta hop and prep for this other call. But look, we're gonna stay connected. So after you get off, make sure that you save this recording. I know. Look, for you guys who are watching, she's a finance person, but she ain't the tech person. So I need you guys to somebody come on and help us how to save this IG so that we can repurpose it. All right, so I gotta get out of here.
I know, it's so bad. I was so confused. I was lost. I felt like my mama. I was like, where am I? Where am I, Louis? Where am I?
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Please register for the next Black Wealth series. It's on the website. And thank you all for joining in. I really appreciate it. Louis was a ball of information and just he was a blessing. He's going to be our second speaker for the series on prison reform, which starts in April. We're looking for people that can help us promote the series. So just follow me on Instagram, get on the website, register for the series. There's no cost. And let's start getting these conversations together. And thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys joining us. Now, you know, I got to figure out how to get off. Y'all know I don't know. Okay, let me see. I think that. Yes. Okay, bye, y'all.